The easy route never has longevity. You've had enough time moaning, you've had enough time, feeling sorry for yourself. Now you need to pick yourself up, put your shoes on, get your hair done, put your makeup on, and go do what you have to do.
Today's guest is a singer and songwriter. She also does public speaking on mental health.
Children's Mental Health Week, singer-songwriter and mental health advocate Eleni C.
I'd like to introduce Eleni C. Eleni, the industry that you're in, Sinead O'Connor dies at 56. Amy Winehouse died of alcohol abuse and drugs. Whitney Houston dead from cocaine. These are really high profile people. What's going on with these people's mental health? What could be so bad that they have to go into drugs and really abuse themselves to the point where they go, this needs to end?
I know that there is a lot of pressure placed on artists, expectations. Sometimes if you don't have that voice next to you to give you the strength or the confidence to get through difficult moments, you can easily get sucked into.
Welcome back to Take a Seat, the #1 channel where we conversate about mindset and how to get ahead. I get on different guests every single week, so you guys can see there might be somebody out there who you resonate with. Today I have a singer, but before I introduce her, I'd like you to do something, and that's to smash the subscribe button. The bigger this channel gets, the bigger the guests get, giving you guys more value. Today's guest is a singer and songwriter. She also does public speaking on mental health. I'd like to introduce Eleni C.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
Really good. Especially wow, it feels like I'm sitting next to a star today.
Well, I thought I should put a little bit of effort in.
Talk to me about your outfit.
Well, I think a part of the whole Eleni C image is obviously music, but it's also fashion. I really love clothing. I really love style. And for me, what I wear is also an extension and a representation of my character and my personality, I would say. So I always take pride in what I wear.
What's the thought process in today's outfit, for example?
I think the thought process today was kind of I was thinking to myself, I was with my stylist and I was saying to her, it's a relaxed podcast, but, with a little bit of style, because I watched your other episodes as well, which, let me just say, are fantastic, fabulous, guys. It's fabulous. So I was going for a relaxed, but also an Eleni C edge look. So I thought to pair it with some comfy trousers, a little bit of heels, and a nice little corset, because I love a little corset, me.
I love it. Can I ask you a question? When you put an outfit on, are you ever thinking, I've worn this before, and what if I get papped wearing the same outfit, and will that degrade me or anything of that nature? Or do you always mix and match, or what's?
Well, I would say that having to take a lot of photos and having outfits is probably one of the biggest struggles, because like you said, when you're going out, you're wearing an outfit, you're getting photographed, you're going to put it on your social channels, and it's not a case that you can't use the outfit again, but it's more of a case of you have to wear the outfit differently. So I will have a stylist that helps me out with my outfits, because I can't take credit for all the clothes that I wear, because I don't have that level of creativity. I just always know that when I see something, I will know instantly if I like it or not. But piecing things together, that's not my talent. I don't have that, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So I leave that to the experts. But it's always about taking, for example, I have a really lovely suit that I like, it's shorts and a blazer. So I've done the whole outfit together, but then I've done it where I've worn the shorts on its own with a different top, the blazer with something else. You have to be creative, because, you can't always go out there and buy like 100 different outfits for every single day. It's gonna break the bank.
You become a hoarder, mate.
Literally, I've already got issues with storage. I'm trying to like relax and calm down on that.
Yes. What about in terms of feeling comfortable? How important is it for you to feel comfortable? Because as a star, as a performer, there's a lot of people looking at you, and also there'll be certain people saying, whack these pair of glasses on, because it's probably not even going to be the best, but it will get you noticed.
It's
like
the fashion.
you need to like get noticed for something. Oh, the girl with the star glasses or something like that. But as a woman, sometimes you guys are objectified, and they say, look, if you don't look sexy, if you don't have your body on show, then you're not really going to captivate the audience. Like, how important is that comfortability and being comfortable in your clothes and coming out your comfort zone as well?
I think that feeling sexy, feeling confident, and being happy with yourself comes from you being able to not just wear clothes that make you feel like that, but you have to find the strength from within. Clothes and the things that you put on you come secondary. I think confidence and feeling sexy is something that you have to learn to have without having to look at clothes to give you it. For me, I always say that what I wear, I have to 100% obviously be comfortable in it, because if you're not, then it's really hard to navigate something that you're not comfortable with. But I've also learned that I can't always rely on the clothes that I wear to make me feel confident. And sometimes you're in a situation where you can't wear something that you're 100% happy with, not because you've been styled wrongly, but maybe because whilst you're going somewhere something has malfunctioned and you have to put the secondary option on. And in those situations, which I have been in, I've had to learn that, this is a situation, I've got to wear that, but I've still got to strap my stuff exactly the same way I was going to with the first outfit. And that ability has to come from you mentally understanding that you are enough as you are, and what you wear isn't what makes you confident. It's not that makes you sexy. That just adds to the inner strength and confidence that you already have.
And this leads on to another question, where a lot of people are spending a lot of money, like all of their disposable income, and that's income where it's not to do with their rent or food, but they have a couple of £100 left at the end of the month, and all they would just think to do is, am I buying the latest trainers? Am I wearing that D&G top or Lacoste or Fendi top? Because that's going to give me confidence now. Because when I walk in a room, people know my shirt cost £300, but they could be investing that money aside. And instead of that £1,500 handbag, they could invest £1,500 into a course, which makes their actual value go up in terms of when they walk into a room, they've got a lot more knowledge. What would you say about, spending your money on material items and caring about what other people think and what you're wearing?
I always say that the strength has to come from within. The moment that you fall into the trap of looking for reassurance from other people is the moment that you start going down a slippery slope. You need to be able to be confident with who you are, regardless of what other people say to you, because there's going to be times that you do things that other people aren't going to agree with, and you have to be able to be confident enough to follow that road that you're passionate about, regardless of what people say. And sometimes, our decisions can be the wrong ones, but I always say that in the moments that we make mistakes or we hit bumpy bits in the road, that's where we get to learn the most, and that's where we get to grow the most. And knowledge is power. Knowledge is something that you can never have enough of. And if it's a choice between buying materialistic stuff or developing yourself as a person or the knowledge that you have, I 100% would always go with the knowledge, because fashion, clothes are temporary. Investing in your future and investing in yourself is something which will always be timeless, and it will aid you in becoming a better and more well-rounded person. And I always believe, like, I love fashion. I absolutely love it. But I also know that the clothes on my back are not what makes me who I am. What makes me who I am is the life experiences that I've had, the knowledge that I've been able to gain along the way, to trying to achieve what I want. You know, going to university and getting a degree, being around different people from different walks of life. These are the things that have made me who I am. And when it comes to the clothes on my back, I'm just like, as long as it looks good, I don't really care if it was from the designer shop, if it was from the high street, if it was cost £2, you know, it's whatever looks good on you. But to be able to get to that point, you have to be confident with who you are and comfortable, because it's so easy for us nowadays to always look at social media and think, I want to have that, I want to be like that. I was like that when I was a child. I used to think to myself, like, oh, you know, that's the latest trend, I want to wear that, or I want that. But it wasn't until I grew up and I realized that we make our own fashion, we make our own way in life. And as long as we own who we are, people will admire you for not only what you do, for what you wear, the things you say, but you have to invest in you as a person before you start focusing on materialistic stuff.
I love that. I love that. Really good. Like, it's important to remember. Like, I think there was a quote saying, you know, there's so many people in the world. Like, you are unique. Don't die a copy.
Exactly. Like, when people say to me, you know, I'm different, I have this and I have that, I'm like, stop. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Take that thing that makes you individual and embrace it. And always remember that we have icons in this world that we look up to. You know, you have, for example, we have amazing George Michael, we have Michael Jackson, we have Whitney Houston. I'm going through singers because that's the people that I'm really aware of. You know, you have Amy Winehouse. All of these people were admired because they were unique. They did things that other people couldn't do. And I always say, when I give like my speeches to students, I always say, embrace that individuality, because fundamentally we look up to people who do things which are individual. They do things that other people can't do. So if we love them for their individuality, we can also love each other, and other people can love you for your individuality. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it and allow yourself to be the person that you want to be.
I love that. Eleni, you mentioned quite a few names there. So, you know, George Michael, Amy Winehouse, etc. And all of these stars have their own, like, we're all only human. I think sometimes people forget that also, that even yourself, you're a performer, people love to listen to your music, you know, the crowd will be shouting and singing along with you. But we've also got to remember that you are just a human being at the end of the day. You're a unique human being. But something happened in the media recently where Cardi B was performing, and outside we know she's a mother. She might have done certain things in her career that she thought was right at the time, which who is anybody else to judge? But she's performing and somebody takes a water bottle and slams it straight in her face, you know. And as a branding perspective, I'd look at that and go, don't react, because you've got a worldwide brand. But then we've got to remember that's a human being and emotions come into it, and Cardi B reacted a certain way. What's your thoughts on that whole incident?
I think that it's becoming a trend lately where people are throwing stuff on stages, and we even saw that as well with BB Rexa. She got someone chucked, I think it was a cell phone, a mobile phone, at her while she was on stage, and it ended up, I think it like gashed her on the top of her eye or her eyebrow. I think that, yes, obviously instinctively as a human being, we're going to like react to kind of try and protect ourselves in this situation. And I do believe that this kind of behavior needs to not go unnoticed, because it's becoming, sadly, some sort of trend, and it's making the people on stage unsafe. You know, some people are gonna, you know, they're gonna chuck a bottle, or they're gonna chuck a phone, or they're gonna chuck this, and they're gonna think it's funny. But they don't understand sometimes in that moment that when you do something like that, you're actually endangering the person on the stage. Like, BB Rexa needed stitches. Like, that's not even a joke. And supposedly it was a fan, you know, that done it because they love her and whatever. But that's
a lot of love.
I mean, that's not okay though.
Yeah.
Like, it's really not okay, because if it was me and I was on a stage and I had to think in my head, you know, oh, I had to take into consideration that potentially someone in the audience was going to dash something at me or my dancers, the way that I would do a show would have to alter, because not only am I going to think of my own safety, but I'm going to think of my team's safety as well, because we're going to go on stage, we're going to perform, we're going to do what we love, but then at the same time, I'm not willing to do it at the risk of my safety. You know, someone's going to chuck something that can potentially harm me or someone else. You end up having to alter what you do, and it's a shame. You know, it's a shame, because a lot of performers like myself, we love to perform live because we love to interact with the audience. And obviously, if this trend like continues to go and pick up, it's going to alter the way people do live performances. It's going to be less interactive with the audience, and I think it's a real shame, because I think the audience is the best bit.
Yeah. First of all, have you ever been in any sort of situation like that?
No, thankfully I haven't. Thankfully.
And second of all, like, do you think there should be some sort of consequence for the fan or person who's, you know, essentially attacking that person on stage?
I think yes, because if there isn't, people are going to continue to do it. And for some reason, you know, sometimes people can look at these things and think, oh yeah, it's funny or something like that. But if the shoe was on the other foot, I don't really think they would find that funny.
Yes, for sure. On the flip side, recently there was a fan who dashed a bra at Drake recently.
I heard she went viral.
She got a contract with Playboy or something like that. Like, you know, because was it that size sort of thing? Hope my mom's not watching because she'll slap me. Like, you know, but it was in the news. And it almost got, well, it did get her fame. Like, you know, she got in the papers. She got something with, you know, Playboy. She probably got a good contract, some media press around it. You know, do you think people are trying to get noticed, even if they're in their crowd? They try to leverage your performance or leverage, you know, your ability to try latch onto it themselves?
I think when it comes to like chucking bras, chucking like pantyhose, things like that, that's a very like old fashioned thing that people used to do back in the days.
Okay.
And again, like, okay, that's not gonna harm the person on the stage, you know. If you're gonna chuck things, fair enough, chuck stuff that aren't gonna hurt the person on the stage. But if you're gonna like start dashing bottles, phones, you know, things like that, then that's when there starts to be a problem.
Yeah.
But I remember like back in the days, especially like when the Beatles used to perform and things like that, chucking like bras and stuff was really a thing.
Has anyone like chucked anything or given you a present?
I mean, I've been given like roses and things like that, but thankfully I've not had any undergarments chucked at me. Not quite yet.
Nice. Eleni, I want to talk to you about the very first incidents or very first steps that started to shape the way you looked at music and how you wanted to perform or get into this space. Like, if we go back in time, what were the first things that you sort of heard or looked at and went, I want to do that, or I like that and I want to practice some of that?
I always loved music growing up. I think my biggest inspirations while I was growing up would be like, it was like Christina Aguilera, Mariah Carey. I used to love Shakira, Amy Winehouse.
Singers.
Yeah, I loved it. And like J-Lo, I loved like the way she would perform. And I always wanted to be on a stage, and I kind of gradually got into it. So I went to, I just went to a normal public school, nothing like no special like performing arts schools. And
whereabouts did you grow up?
North London.
So around the corner from here then.
Literally born and raised North Londoner me. And I loved singing, and I started going to singing lessons, and then from there doing like performances at talent shows. And then
Did you always sing? Did anybody say that you can sing, or did you just was in the bathroom going, yeah, I'm going to take this up, or what?
Well, I just always used to think to myself, I was like, I can sing, I can do this, I can do this. And then after I was like, I really want to do singing. I really want some singing lessons. Like because I was always aware that in order to be good at something, you needed to practice it and you needed to have help. Because I went to like drama school. I was taking piano lessons, so I was aware of like the process. And because of that, I was like, I actually want to do singing lessons. Like I want that. I want to do that. I want to hone in on something that I love. And then performing more and more, it just kind of made me realize even more that I loved music and I loved singing.
And at what age was this?
So I started at about the age of like 12, 13, taking singing lessons.
Right.
And then it wasn't until I was about, when I started doing my A-levels, about 16, 17, that I was recording like my own music. So I went into the studio with like my songwriting partner. We we nailed down some songs, which was the style of those songs is completely different to what I'm doing now. And it was a case of just learning the process of the business whilst also learning the kind of artist and person that I wanted to be. So for the next 4 or 5 years, it was really a case of honing in on me as a person and what I wanted to be, and also homing in on the type of music that I wanted to do and the kind of performer and artist that I wanted to be portrayed as. So it was really it was a learning process, It was never like overnight. Nothing was ever overnight. And it was a case of going to open mics, doing the whole, Camden open mic scene, London open mic scene, and really building up the contacts and learning about how the business worked, making friends within the industry. All of this took years. And slowly, one thing led to another. It was like baby steps and, you climb the ladder here, climb the ladder there, and things just started to kind of piece together.
I suppose along this journey, you probably hit a lot of dead ends and, a lot of things that people could say, you failed. Like you put an email out here or you've reached out to somebody and you haven't got a reply or an answer or will let you know. How did you deal with them? Did you have a defining moment that a few of these incidents happened with you? And if so, how did you deal with that, getting back up from it?
I would say that at the beginning, it was like I used to kind of take it personal. It was more of I used to think to myself like, oh God, like what's wrong with me? But then I had to learn, like I had a very good support system behind me. I had one person in particular who's always been there for me, from the get-go, from the moment that I said I wanted to be a singer up to now. She's always been there for me. And I probably learned she taught me that you can't take things personally. Because if you do, you're never going to get out of bed and you're never going to push further and you're never going to get to where you want to get to. Success, like disappointment, is all a part of the journey and it's all apart from life. And in the moments that you don't get what you want, you've got to think to yourself, why didn't I get it? What can I do to get it? What can I change to get it? Do I need to work harder? Do I need to focus on another type of road? Figure out a solution. Don't dwell on the, the no. Don't dwell on the, disappointment. Allow yourself to build yourself to get better and move past it. And that's kind of the attitude that I've always tried to adopt. I mean, it's something that takes time. It takes time because, when you're working so hard for that goal and then you get there and they're like, sorry, no, you're like, damn it. But you've just got to think to yourself, right, what do I have to do next? Because this will be mine. No matter what, I will get this. How do I get it?
So it's almost like you reflect everything back to self.
Yes.
You don't portray it out. Why did he do that? Why did she do that? No, victim mentality is about, hang on, they've said no for a reason. Yeah. Let me come at my shell. Let me look at what I did, how I, went about this and what you can change.
Yeah. And sometimes hindsight is a beautiful thing because you think sometimes in a moment that you want this like opportunity, and it doesn't come your way, and at that time you think to yourself, why? But then as time goes on, you grow as a person, or for me example, I grow as a performer and an artist, and then that opportunity that I wanted 6 months ago comes to me 6 months later, and I think to myself, do you know what? It's better that this opportunity came now, because 6 months ago I wasn't as ready as I am now. And when we face disappointment, sometimes we can't see that. We can only see that further down the line in hindsight. And we think to ourselves, yeah, actually it's better that it came now. And I always look and I think to myself, you can't look at other people's success and think to yourself like, oh, I wish I had that, or I wish I was them. No, you need to celebrate everybody's success, because we all equally work as hard as each other, especially in the music industry. It's really hard. And every single one of us has a different journey. Every single one of us has a struggle. Every single one of us has a grind. And we have to respect each other and celebrate each other's successes, because it's that kind of mentality that will allow you to also have like a unit behind you, and it's beautiful to see other people succeed in what they've worked so hard to achieve.
100. I like that, because we've also got to remember that when you're up there and you've made it, you know your goals, your aspirations, and you're doing what you love doing, you want people clapping for you, right?
Yeah.
But then you got to remember that when you're looking at other people on your journey, you should be clapping for them too.
Exactly.
It's the way the world moves around. You got to pass that energy around. Can I ask what your background is?
As in, like
where are your parents from?
Yeah. So born and raised in North London, but I'm Greek Cypriot.
Okay.
Greek Cypriot by blood.
Sure. So were there any expectations from your parents, because you have done something out of the ordinary to try go and perform, or were they fully supportive behind what you wanted to do?
Do you know what? Everything that I've wanted to kind of do, like my parents have always been very supportive. But again, like the career that I wanted to do, music, was something that, they were not familiar with. So it's a case of like, yeah, go and do what you love, pursue it and everything like that. But then I needed to kind of try and find a support system to help me navigate through this business, and I had the support, from my parents to go and, do whatever it is that I wanted to do. But then at the same time, I needed to kind of find
new mentors.
Yeah. And thankfully, I was really lucky that I found a mentor from the get-go, and she's been with me throughout the whole journey.
Yeah.
Because that is the most important thing. The mentor, the person that you have that you consider to be your backbone, is literally pivotal to your success, because that person standing next to you is either going to make you better or they're going to break you. And a lot of the time we've seen, like with famous people, that unfortunately they've ended up going down a dark road because the support system behind them hasn't been strong enough to pull them out of bad situations or wrong choices. And I'm very fortunate that I've got that support system. I've got that mentor behind me, that when I do get to, those days that I'm like, do you know what? I've like had enough. Because I do, I'm human like everyone else. And you get to that point sometimes where you're so exhausted, or you've worked so hard for something and it doesn't work out how you want to. And you're just like, you know what? Like, what am I doing this for? Like, why am I putting myself through this? And it's at those points that person standing next to you is going to pull you through and be like, you know what, you've had enough time. You've had enough time moaning. You've had enough time, feeling sorry for yourself. Now you need to pick yourself up, put your shoes on, get your hair done, put your makeup on, and go do what you have to do.
How do you find these mentors? How do you find these people, the support system, the lifeline around you? Where do you look? Because often you can have the wrong people around you also, who say, here, I'll have a spliff. That will make things better. Have a line. That will just get us through this, I
think again, I think deep down, we all know what's right and wrong. Like, we do know. And like when we're at school, for example, you're taught that taking drugs is wrong, you know, we're taught, you know, don't do this, you know, don't do that. And when you're in a situation where you're being dealt something that you know deep down is wrong, sometimes you can think to yourself, yeah, like I'll do it because I want to fit in, I want to have these people around me. But sometimes we fail to think about the consequences that these decisions can have on our future and going forward. Having the right person by your side, I'm not going to lie and say it's easy, because it's not. It's really, really difficult. And I always say that I was fortunate that I had this person from the get-go. You know, I had this person growing up by my side. So instinctively, like, I'm like, you know what, I trust you with my life. Like, I know what you're going to tell me is going to be for my best interest. And I also know that people don't always have that from the get-go. But I think that you need to develop yourself as a person first and be confident and comfortable with who you are, to be able to then make a decision of understanding that, you know what, yeah, this person is good for me, this person isn't good for me. And also know that sometimes we don't know it all. And it's okay to reach out to ask for advice from certain people, but always remember that when you're asking advice from someone, is it somebody who's going to advise you in the right way? Is it somebody who has a knowledge of the business that you're in? You know, is it somebody who cares about you and has your best interests at heart? So there's a lot of thought processes that have to go into it.
Yeah.
It's like a web. It's really like a web.
Sometimes we know the right answers and we know it's wrong, but the human mind wants to do something, like, as a survival instinct is, it will choose the easiest way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes getting into bad habits is the easiest way because it almost gives you a break from it all. So when you get in DMs left, right and center, when people are messaging you, when people are in your face, when people want a piece of you, and then at the same time you're trying to progress on your business, on your singing career, and that's, you're hitting knockbacks and you're like, I like this bit, but it's not happening enough or quick enough, and you just need a break from it all. What stops you from taking an easy option of, you know, going into, you know, bad habits?
Because I always say to myself, like, the easy route never lasts. The easy route never has longevity. And I always say that if you just like strengthen yourself and allow yourself to grind at the beginning, then you will build something which will be long lasting. And that's exactly how I've thought about everything. Like, I will do things and I will act in a way that will always be a representation of the person that I am. I will never allow myself to do something that I don't believe is a representation of me. Because being in the public eye, you're judged constantly. You know, you're judged constantly. You know, people are always willing to pick up on something negative rather than something positive. And I always believe that whatever I do, I always want it to be a representation of the person that I am. You know, if somebody's going to call me up and say, you know what, yeah, Lenny, like, you know, I saw you doing this last week, I can just sit there and be like, yeah, and what's your point? That is me. That's who I am. I don't regret what I done, you know. And I believe that if you allow yourself to work hard and grind at the beginning, then you're giving yourself a strong foundation to build a successful career. And I pride myself on always making sure that I say and do things that are a representation of me, because not only am I a singer, but I'm also a mental health advocate. And with that comes great responsibility. And I don't take it lightly. For me, working with the youth, working with children and speaking to them about mental health is something which I'm very, very passionate about. And I'm also aware that as a result of that, I have, you know, a young audience that look at what I do. And I always want my actions and my behavior to be something that if they wanted to replicate themselves, it wouldn't be detrimental to them.
Why do you care? Why do you care? Like, I mean, you're singing, you're around good people, you just carry on singing and selling your singles, your albums, or getting your performance in, get paid, endorsements, for every, why do you want to look back and go, oh, let me help this crowd?
Because I believe with anything that you build in life, giving back is a part of the journey. And I believe that, the youth is the future. And in order to build a better generation, you need to educate the generation. And if you're doing something that other people aspire to do themselves, why not take time out to, advise them, to talk to them, to guide them? I'm nothing special. I'm just a human being exactly like them. And I've worked hard to achieve what I wanted to achieve, and I'm still not there. I'm still haven't achieved exactly what I want. And I never think to myself that I'm better than anyone else. And I always think that on anything that you do in life, giving back is a part of the journey. It doesn't matter if you're a singer. It doesn't matter if you work on Wall Street. It doesn't matter if you work in a supermarket, in a clothes shop. Giving back is always a part of life, like working, like building, getting a house, having everything is a part of life. And I think sometimes we fail sometimes to understand that giving back is something that as human beings, I believe we should always do. And giving back isn't always about, giving physical money, it's about giving time. It's about saying to someone, you know what? Do you need help? I'll give you a bit of help. Are you hungry? Come, I'll get you something to eat. You need advice? I'll do my best to advise you in the way that I can. And I just think growing up myself, I saw, especially a very close loved one of mine going through, a mental health difficulty, a mental health struggle, which they're battling with even up until today. And if they were given just a little bit more attention, within the educational system to understand what it means to speak out, maybe they wouldn't have gone down the path that they did. So that's why I always said to myself, if I had a platform to help other people, not experience mental health difficulties, or give a voice to the people who are supporting a loved one, struggling with a mental health difficulty, then I wanted to do so. Because again, I don't want people to think that, oh, you know what, yeah, Eleni looks like she's made it and she, her life is great. Yeah, part of life is great, but not 100% of it. There's a struggle, there's a story behind that. And I want to share it with the world in order for them to understand that if they're going through something themselves, to not be afraid of it and to fight it and to not allow it to define them.
I love that. It's like even when I look at life as well, it's like the answer to everything is just love. It's like you're giving that energy out there to help other people, but in turn, I bet there's loads of things you can't even explain, of opportunities that come in front of you. Like people say, well, why should I help that person if that person's never going to help me? But sometimes when you put them little lottery tickets out and go, I'm going to help you, and then something comes up. I believe when you push the universe somewhere, something will come around from a different way, no?
And the thing is that when you are giving back, or when you're helping, like when you're trying to help people, I think you need to not have that mindset of, okay, I'm helping you, so that means you owe me. The moment that you have that mindset, you're losing. If you're going to choose to help somebody, you need to do it with the mindset of, you know what, I'm helping you because I have chosen to help you, because I want to help you.
No expectations.
The moment that you start placing expectations and you start thinking that it's like a transactional thing, like I give you that, you give me that, you're doing it with the wrong mindset.
Yes. And then you're going to disappoint yourself. Then you're going to get negative about it, bitter about it.
Exactly. It's different, it's different if, it's different if you're with your friends and you know what, your friend's like, you know what, hey Al, can you help me out with this? Can you do this? Da, 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 da. And you're like, yeah, cool, whatever, like, I'll help you. And then there comes a point where you're like, you know, yo, friend, like, I need a bit of help, like, you know, can you come and help me? And if your friend isn't there for you at, you know, at those times, then yeah, you think to yourself, oh, but you know, I need your help, friend, I need your help. But when it comes to doing things, I always do things without the expectation of someone doing something back for me, because then I think then you take the value away of what you're doing. You know, a part of my character is I love helping people, and sometimes, you know, it's a good thing, but then sometimes I think my downfall is that I don't know where to draw the line. Because I just always want to, like, I always want to help people. I always want to, you know, whatever I can do, I'll do. But then sometimes you've got to learn that you need to have also limits as a person.
Where do you think that comes from? What are your parents like?
Do you know what? Like I said, I think all of this mindset has literally come from my mentor. It's come from my mentor because it's my mentor, my experiences within the industry that have taught me to think like that. You know, growing up, I was very much naive to the world. You know, I was always like, you know, I like helping people. You know, I like doing this. You know, I was always a giving person from a child, but I was naive when it came to understanding humanity in the world. And it wasn't until I got into, you know, music, until I went to university, until I really like left the bubble, the sphere that I was born in, let's just say, that I learned that, you know what, there's more to life than where I was born, where I was raised. And in learning that, you learn how to deal with life in a different way.
Nice, thanks for sharing that. Let's go back to school now. So it's about 15, 16. Let's go through your path, like your little bit of journey. Like, what, you know, you're taking some, you're learning some piano. You're doing some auditions, singing lessons. Talk me through it. You know, what was going on?
I mean, do you know what? When I was growing up, I was such a tomboy. I loved playing football with the boys. I used to have my hair in a ponytail 24/7, in a tracksuit, kicking a ball around, because I grew up with boys. So I grew up with, you know, boys all around me. I didn't have, like, all my female cousins were either like way older or they were back in Cyprus. So I was very much, you know, a tomboy, riding my bike, you know, falling off my bike, scratching my knees and getting up and being like, let's keep going. And I started doing piano lessons, and then I was going to drama school. But at that time I was like, you know what, I don't really want to do this. I didn't want to go to drama school. I enjoyed playing the piano, but I loved singing more. And I just thought to myself, I was like, I even spoke to my mentor at that time, because my mentor was always around even when I was growing up. And I was like, I love singing. Like, I don't know if I enjoy playing the piano as much. Like, what do I do? And then she was like, well, you know what, speak to your parents and maybe, you know, you can go and do singing lessons. So I was like, Mum, Dad, can we just do like a swap? Can we swap the piano lessons for singing lessons? And my parents were like, yeah, you know, if that's what you want to do, go for it. Because they were very much like, you know what, do whatever you want. Like, they sent me and my brother to do piano lessons and, you know, to do like extracurricular activities, because they thought, you know, it was important to do. But it was always a case of like, if there's something else that you want to do, by all means go do it. You know, I even tried ballet lessons, and let's just say I was not born to be a ballerina. But, you know, enjoyed the process, learned a little bit of, you know, having a bit of grace. Don't know if it's stuck, but, you know, sometimes I think it has, sometimes I think it hasn't. But yeah, growing up, it was just a case of like really experiencing different things and then learning what I loved. And, you know, I got to do the singing lessons, and that was something that just ended up sticking.
What did you do in college?
So I stayed on at school. I done my A-levels. I done, what did I do? That is a very good question. I done I done maths, English literature,
Wow.
psychology, and philosophy.
Quite strong subjects.
Yes, they were. Psychology actually was something that I was forced to do because I initially wanted to do, what did I initially want to do? I think it was like drama or something. But the timetable wouldn't match. I couldn't do all of the subjects. So then my careers advisor at school was like, the only options are to do, one of the sciences, and psychology was in that category, and science was something that I was just like, please, no more science. I was like, as soon as I got through my GCSEs and I passed them, I was more excited that I passed my science GCSE than anything else. I was like, yes, we passed. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll do psychology, and then if it doesn't, if I don't like it, then I'll just drop it after AS. But in the end, I absolutely loved psychology.
All about how the brain works, eh?
Oh my God, it is so interesting. It's so interesting how the brain works, human behavior, like understanding media, understanding how we as a society are manipulated by media. Oh my God, it was just like, I was like, this is just so intriguing. I was like,
any conspiracy theories that?
no, it wasn't like conspiracy theories. It was just really understanding how, like, sometimes things within media are simplified to such an extent in order for us to easily grab onto the idea. And that's how we are sometimes subjected to propaganda, because messages are portrayed in such a simple way that it allows our minds not to have to overthink. And in that way, we just absorb the propaganda. It's very interesting. I don't think I'm explaining it very well.
No, but
very interesting, guys. I advise look at human psychology. Very, very interesting.
But it's like sometimes bad news sells. Like, it's actually sort of scientifically proven that, even a baby looks more at an angry face than a happy face. It will stare at you like 150 times more or something like that. So like,
but I believe that's because we've been conditioned that way. Because when you open the news, majority of the time it's always something like sad or something disastrous. And I'm not saying that, bad things don't go on in the world, because of course they do. But I think there should be a balance, because as much as there's bad things, there's also like good things. And I think there should be a little bit more of a balance. There should be an injection of like happiness as well within the news. And I think so many more people would be willing to watch it, because it's like mixing, it's like, when you have a to-do list, and on that list you've got the things that you really don't like to do, but then you've got the things that you really do like to do. You sell those things that you don't like to do to yourself by saying, after I finish that, I'm going to reward myself with the things that I like. So that motivates you to do those things that you don't like in order to get to the things that you do like. And if you adopt that mentality, especially when it comes to the news, then people are going to be more willing to watch it, because they're going to be like, oh, I wonder what good things happened today. Let me get through the bad to get to the good.
Where is the balance though? Because you got social media now, and sometimes social media can be very toxic, and everybody looks like they're having an amazing life. Like, they're on holiday, they show you the best 5 minutes of their day, and they're on this boat, but they never showed you the queue they had to get into, or the sweaty people around them, etc. Or they've sat in a car, quickly papped a quick Bugatti or a nice car, and it's like, yeah, thanks for letting me take that picture, your keys back, sort of thing, and everyone's like, why haven't I got that life? Why am I not wearing that? Why am I not on holiday? I'm stuck in this shitty job. Like, this is getting to me now. And, people, it really affects people's mental health. Like, is social media real?
I think, obviously, like what I do, social media plays a massive role in it. And I always say that social media isn't bad. what is bad is the fact that people are not educated enough as to how social media is used. So, for example, you're going to go to school and you're going to be taught, 1 + 1 is 2. You're going to learn your times tables. You're going to learn, certain things. You're going to be taught. You're going to be scaffolded. But when it comes to social media, you are just exposed to it. You're exposed to, again, the beautiful side of everybody's life. You're not taught that actually social media is a reflection of an aspect of somebody's life. You're not taught the process behind social media. You're not taught that actually, you know what, you're admiring that person and you're thinking that that person's got the best life, but actually that picture that you're looking at was a paid partnership. That photo that you're looking at was an advertisement that this person was asked to do. And in them being asked to do it, they had a quota to fill. So they had to look a certain way. They had to act in a certain way in order to fill the contract that they'd signed. You're not taught that. You're not taught that that picture is beautiful, but actually it took that person probably an hour or two to get that one photo. After 300-400 photos, that was the only one photo that that person liked, and that's what they posted. People aren't taught about the process. And I think in anything in life, it is so important for us to be educated in the process, because processes are what build us. Processes are what make us who we are. Processes are what build success. And within social media, whenever I go into schools and I speak to students, I will always explain to them the process of social media, for me anyway. Yes, I've got, photos on there that look like life is great. And yes, life is great sometimes, but life isn't always great 100%. And to get that photo or to get that post, it took an army, or it took a village to get that. It's not easy. We didn't wake up like that. It took a process. I just came back from a trip with a whole bunch of my friends, and we had to do like a photo shoot at 5:30 in the morning. And, the photos came out great, but, the process of being up at 3 o'clock in the morning wasn't there. You didn't see that. You didn't see us rolling out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning like, oh my God, where do we go, guys? What do we do? What do we do? Everything is a process. And I think that in schools, there needs to be more of an education where children understand the process of building a success. And social media is a platform that people use to show success, but they don't show how it was built. And I think that is something that needs to be taught in schools in order for the youth to understand that anything that they see is attainable. They can have that, but they need to understand that they have to work hard to achieve that.
For sure. So, Eleni, tell me, what did you study in university?
I studied media and communications.
Yeah.
So not too far away from what I do.
Yeah. How has that helped you today?
It's helped me to understand media. It's helped me to understand how the press work, how
do they work?
It's always about, feeding them what you want them to know. That's the key. And the moment that something makes you feel uncomfortable, you should never feel obliged to answer it or subject yourself any further to it. That's the key.
Okay. And did you stay at home while you were at uni, or did you move out? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
I stayed at home. I stayed at home, even though my uni was quite far away. It was like South East London. I went to Goldsmiths, University of London.
Wow, that's a good uni.
It was a really good uni. Like, really great experience. Met so many great people, and I loved it. I loved it because, again, I always believe knowledge is power, and no matter what you do, you should always have like a contingency plan. Music is something that I'm passionate about, I love, and something that I'm following, but I also believe that education is just as important, and you should never put your eggs in one basket.
How important has your degree played a part in what you do today? Could you have learnt it through experience? Could you have done a short course somewhere else, or did you have to go to uni for that?
I mean, you could, yeah, obviously you could learn it.
It costs 10 grand a year now, like £30,000 people are left in debt. Does that outweigh its cost?
It does. But then, like I said at the beginning, like knowledge is something which is power. Knowledge is something that enriches you as a person and opens doors for you. And my degree is something that I have used not just throughout like being in the music industry, but then there was points where I took breaks, and in those breaks, you know, I went and done jobs that were tailored to the degree that I had, you know, that I have. And I believe that education is something that we should all invest in. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go university, but it's always good to invest in your future in one way or another, either through apprenticeships, you know, university, short courses, you know, anything that you feel is suited to you, you should do. Because university isn't for everybody, you know. Sometimes apprenticeships are fantastic for people, you know, getting hands-on, you know, whilst learning. Again, there's no right or wrong, but I just always think that you should invest in your future.
What was your first incident in terms of working? What was your first job?
My first job, my first job was like a little Saturday job at an estate agency.
Oh, wow.
It was just a little one while I was doing my A-levels, because I think, you know, my parents, like me, we thought it was important to understand what it means to earn your own money. So that was I enjoyed that. I'm not going to say I didn't. I enjoyed that job. You know, it was nice and easy. And again, it felt like it was like a sense of fulfillment to like earn my own money, to know that, you know, to know that the money in my pocket, I earned it. So, you know, I could do whatever I want with it, you know, it's mine, I earned it. It was good because it teaches you, the value of money. Because I think sometimes when you grow up and you don't have to work for what you're given, I feel like the value of it can sometimes be lost in translation.
Sure. What other jobs have you done?
I've worked in a media agency, I've worked in retail. What else have I done? I mean, I've done so many, it's just so hard to pinpoint, because, you know what, this is what I'm saying, following a career in music, it's not easy. There was times that I had to, you know, get jobs on the side in order to make some money to keep going. So yeah, I've done retail, I've done estate agency, I've done media agency. Yeah, that's what's coming to my mind right now.
When was your break, should we say, in terms of the music side of things, where you could say, I could do this more full time and I can rely more on this sort of aspect of my passion of what I want to do?
When did that come? I would say it kind of came maybe like a couple of years ago. Once I started to get into touring a bit more, my mental health work, you know, it became something that was, you know, slightly more viable, but, you know, it wasn't something that was going to be, it didn't become something that was viable, 100% until maybe quite recently, to be fair. Like I said to you, I've always been that person that I'll never put my eggs in one basket. I do a lot of things on the side, you know, because everything, you know, you got to have like your side hustles here and there. And, you know, bits here, bits there have kind of helped me to build me.
Bit of an entrepreneur, ain't you?
You have to be, you know what, you have to be, because it's in this life, the way that it is nowadays, you can't just do one thing. You kind of have to be multifaceted and willing to try different things.
Can you give us a line from one of your songs? I'm living
a dream. That's my latest one. Yeah, that's my latest one. I think one of my, let me think,
Maybe we can do a warm-up together.
gosh.
Can we do a warm-up together? How do we warm up?
Okay, one warm up that probably people look at me and think like, is she crazy? Because I do this in the car a lot. Is sirens. So you basically can't laugh when I laugh because you can't do it when you laugh.
Come on, breathe.
So it's basically like a car engine, and you gotta like put your fingers like that and go.
I don't think I want to do that.
You can do it. Come on, Sean. I've done it now, so you have to do it.
So what does this do? Warm your lips up or what?
It warms the vocal cords. It's really good. So okay, you need to close your eyes, 'cause otherwise you're gonna keep laughing. There you go. See, you started. You got a starting point.
Okay. And like, how important is it to like warm up and like, you know, get your vocal cord, you know, like ready, or can you just go?
No, like no joke. Warming up is very important. Like it's like an athlete. They're not gonna run a marathon, or a footballer's not gonna, you know, go on pitch and play a football match without warming up their muscles. It's exactly the same with the singer. You have to warm up your voice. Even if you're not singing, even if you're doing like a public speaking, you need to warm up your voice.
How long before you're even going on stage that you've started, like, you know, preparing for that?
A warm up can take, probably depending on how long your set is going to be, it can take from like 15 minutes to an hour. Depends on how long. You know, if you're going to go on and do like, you know, a song, then it could be like about 15-20 minutes just to kind of, you know, warm up the voice, get it ready for the song. Then if you're looking at doing about like a set which is going to go beyond like half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, then yeah, you're looking at doing a good 45 minutes to an hour warm up to really make sure that everything is nice and good.
Are you confident when you're up there?
I am confident, but I always get nerves, you know, you always get nerves. I always have nerves before I go on stage because, you know, I love what I do, and it's always so important to me to make sure that we nail it and we deliver what is intended. But after the set begins, the nerves kind of go away, and then it's just pure joy.
How do you make sure them initial nerves doesn't affect your performance? Like you just like come out of something that's like because you're a bit unbalanced, or breathing techniques are key to making sure that those nerves do not overtake. And a lot of the time I'll just make sure that I give myself like 5 minutes before I go on stage to be on my own, just focus, breathe, you know, put like my playlist on that kind of gives me that let's go kind of feel. And yeah. Do you ever get any anxiety?
Absolutely. Anxiety's actually been one of those things that I've had to, you know, battle with and learn to work and learn to cope with since I was a teenager. It's one of those things that has definitely followed me through throughout my whole career, even up to now. It's something that I've had to learn to cope with, and I have tools in place that I use for different types of situations if my anxiety decides that it wants to rear its head and say hello.
I was watching something this morning or listening to something with Bear Grylls, and I think he's got some stupid amount of followers, but he's actually feeling more and more anxious and nervous because he's built his brand up so big that when he comes out, he's like, wow, I've got to live up to this big name that I've created. And he's saying he's actually getting more and more nervous the bigger he's getting. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I can completely empathize with that, because I feel that as you get bigger and as you do things, it's like people have an expectation of what to expect from you. So it's like when you're just starting out, you can go and you can do something, and you know, you might bum a note here, forget a move there, and be like, oh, it's all right, next time, you know, it'll be fine. But then when you've built yourself up to a point where people are coming to watch you with the expectation of what they're going to see, that pressure sometimes can cause you anxiety, because you're thinking to yourself, like, I can't mess up. Like, these people know what I can do. And if I don't deliver a certain standard, I don't want them to like leave feeling disappointed. So I do completely empathize with where he comes from, because as you work harder and you get yourself better and better, your standard and the expectation that people have of you gets higher and higher. So the moment that you don't deliver what you normally deliver, people are like, "Oh, what was wrong with her today?"
How do you manage that?
I guess, look, I manage it in the sense that I work hard. I always make sure I work hard. I always make sure that I give enough time to my craft. And I also have to remind myself as well that I'm a human being. And sometimes, unfortunately, things don't go 100% to plan. And I've had to learn that if I've done my best, then I have to accept what went wrong, understand what went wrong, and see if there's a way that next time I can ensure it doesn't happen. But again, we're humans, and sometimes, that leads us to having, errors, or, it leads us to maybe not delivering something in the best way that we know how to. And you have to be kind to yourself sometimes and just say to yourself, like, okay, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. And next time, hopefully we can, I can do better.
Eleni, the industry that you're in, Sinead O'Connor dies at 56.
Yeah.
Amy Winehouse died of alcohol abuse and drugs. Whitney Houston dead from cocaine. Nick Carter, alcohol and drugs again. Robbie Williams struggles with fame. People from S Club 7 sold 2 of their Brit Awards. It's like, what's going on with these people's mental health? What could be so bad that they have to go into drugs and really abuse themselves to the point where they go, this needs to end? And these are really high profile people. Like, the whole world is watching these people. Even like Michael Jackson, the amount of surgeries he had, that he just think there was obviously clearly something psychologically wrong. I don't know if it was his dad beating him up or the way he looked, but that wasn't addressed. Especially you doing like psychology yourself, there's something that he's not at peace with. London Underground have like a union. Loads of jobs have different unions to help step in, support. If things go wrong, people are there to support with counsellors or some funding to give you a break from your mental health. We're not really seeing that in the field that you're in. Like, what's your opinion?
I think when it comes to these kinds of things, I think it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, that the person standing next to you is going to either make you or break you. And within this industry, I think that, I know that there is a lot of pressure placed on artists, expectations, and sometimes if you don't have that voice next to you to give you the strength or the confidence to get through difficult moments, you can easily get sucked into drugs and alcohol abuse, because sometimes the pressure becomes so much that you yourself don't know how to handle it. And I'm not gonna lie, there's been, like I said before, there's been times where I've just been like, you know what, I've had enough, like, I don't think I can do this anymore. But because I have that support system behind me, because I have that mentor next to me, I'm able to overcome these obstacles in a healthy way. And when you are in the limelight 24/7 and you can't even step outside of your door to just go and do like the simple human thing, like go to the supermarket without being harassed, it does wear on your mental health. Of course it does. And then the moment that you don't have that network behind you to help you or guide you in the right way, or say, do you know what, we're pulling the plug here, you need to stop, whatever it is, regardless of how much money you're going to lose, we're stopping here because you need to focus on yourself. If you don't have that person who has your best interests at heart, then you can easily go down these kinds of roads.
But not everybody understands that. Like, let's go to a different sport. Let's go to boxing. Iron Mike Tyson, one of the greatest boxers of all time. Yeah, he just had people around him who just wanted to earn money, the accountants, the promoters, he's the youngest heavyweight champion of the world. And then, all of these cases came on him, drugs and him going to prison, so many things, but nobody cared as long as they were earning money off this person. They wasn't trying to help him. Look how many things he's had to address later on in his life, and how he was an animal and how he did things that he just didn't have the education. When you're not educated and you come from a bad or rough place, or imagine, like, I'm born in East London. If I decided to do rapping, all of a sudden I'm on the streets, next minute I'm getting big paychecks. Am I really going to bridge that gap in between? Who's there to tell me no? Why am I going to look for somebody that I need a mentor or someone to support me? You seem very fortunate. Like, it seems very fortunate that you've had the right guidance or that right angel next to you guiding you. I've been very fortunate. I've always had my dad, my uncle teaching me business and the right steps to do. But what do we do when there isn't that support there, and there isn't some sort of union in that sort of, is there some sort of community that can be built, or does somebody needs to take responsibility over this?
I think this is where it comes to you as a person investing in yourself and understanding your worth, and allowing yourself to build on your own expectations. So, for example, I always say, like, when I speak to students, I always say to them, you know what, when you're going to follow what you're passionate about, when you're going to, set out a plan for your life, make sure it's a plan that is a reflection of what you want to do. And then once you've done that, you need to come to a mental understanding that whatever it is that you want to achieve, achieving anything great doesn't come easy. But you've got to also understand your worth and your capabilities. And you've got to know thyself. And when I say that, I mean that as you are going on your journey, if you hit a bump in the road and you seem to not be able to overcome it, know yourself enough to be able to say, right, I need to stop here and I need to reach out for help. And that help can be in the form of, picking up the phone to like a charitable helpline just to speak to somebody, because sometimes just airing out what you've got in your mind can be enough to help you push past certain things. But then sometimes it's not. But then at those points, again, you need to understand that, you know what, I need a bit more support. And find the strength from within to then reach out for more support. Like, maybe go talk to a therapist, maybe go talk to a life coach, or go talk to somebody. Know thyself and know that there are going to be points where you can't handle things by yourself. And it's in those points that you need to find the strength from within to find the right avenue to go down. Because sometimes in those points, you think to yourself, if someone's going to offer you, I don't know, drugs, or, offer you, if you do this, then I can give you that. Sometimes in those moments, it can seem like the easy option, but in the end, it's going to be the option that's going to be more detrimental to you and probably lead you down a road that is going to be even harder for you to get out of. And yes, I'm lucky that I've got somebody by my side, but if you don't have somebody by your side, build your mental state enough to a point that if you do need help, you can recognize it and that you have the strength to reach out for it. And in doing so, you're going to then be able to identify the right people to have around you. Because, that saying when people are like, show me your friends and I show you who you are, it does count, because the people that you have around you are either going to make you or they will break you. If you have people who are around you and support what you do and are a shoulder to lean on in difficult times, you'll be able to get through, hardships. But then if you've got people around you who just want to take from you, that's when the problems arise. And that's when people go down dark roads. That's when things happen, like, you know, for example, with Amy Winehouse, with Whitney Houston. This is when these great, amazingly talented people end up going down bad roads because they have people around them that don't have their best interests at heart.
Even I think with them two, it was a lot to do with their partners as well, no?
It's a lot. It's a lot. You need to who you choose to have by your side is so important. Like, it's so important. It's so important, and it goes it literally that person by your side will be the person that either makes you or breaks you. You know, it will either be the person that's going to make you stronger or pull you down, and that's why it's so important to choose wisely. So important.
Mic
Choose
drop.
wisely.
Boom.
Boom.
Well, I'm going to shoot you some questions over. I'm weary of time and stuff. Tell us a little bit more about, the genre of your sort of, style of singing. Like, what are you going for? Is it classical? Is it rock, pop? Well, where do you fit in?
I would say that I fit into the pop genre with, like a bit of a twist of like reggaeton, R&B. I like the upbeat music that makes you feel good, that you can jive to, you can groove to. I always love that. I get a lot of inspo from people like Jennifer Lopez, especially with like the costumes and staging. I love a good costume, me.
Yeah, she looks really good.
She's goals. She is goals.
She's in 50s and she's still looking like 21, ain't she?
Literally.
So would you say, is that one of the people that influences you?
100%. I love her.
Where do you want to get to? Where is that point that you said, I'd be happy if I got there?
Do you know what? I get asked this question quite a lot, and I always think to myself, like, I've always had goals in mind, and whenever I get to the goal, I'm always like, what's next? I'm always like, what's next? I'm always that person. I'm always like, okay, next. Because I love a challenge. I mean, ideally, I would love to, I would love to get an album out, do a, go on tour. That's like one of my big goals. But I also know that once I do get there, I'm going to start having in my mind, what's next? Where do we go next, team? Because I'm very much that kind of person. I like to always be on the go.
How do you get the whole world to see your song?
I mean, by people sharing, caring, loving.
Is it really that hard? Is it really that hard for the whole UK?
It is hard. Yeah, it's very hard. It's very, very hard. It's very hard because it takes a lot of things.
If you got 100 people liking your video, commenting and resharing it to 100 more people, would that give you a good chance?
I mean, it would start to scratch the surface potentially, but that's a good starting point.
If you hired KSI or someone like that, who's got the whole world next to him, and you were just like singing with him next to you, like, could that be enough?
I mean, that could potentially be enough. If you've got an amazing marketing team as well by your side, you are winning.
What's the process of selecting a song when you're performing?
I think the process is you have to always take into consideration your audience. What the performance is for, the audience that you're going to be performing to, and then once you've got that, then you can build a set around it, because then that's gonna determine, what you sing, what you wear. It's going to determine everything, really.
Have you ever had bad feedback from your audience, or you felt some bad energy, people booing or just walking away while you're performing? Has that ever happened?
No, that's never
silly
happened.
Question, really. Sorry.
Never happened. Never. I mean, I've performed. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've performed at open mics to like crowds of like 4 or 5 people. But yeah, thankfully, I have not experienced that. Oh, Lord.
What's been one of the biggest challenges in your career so far?
I think understanding that not everything that you work for you will achieve at the times that you want to achieve it, and understanding that everything in life will come at the right time. As long as you just keep working hard, things will happen and fall into place when they're meant to.
What do you think of what's that? There's an artist right now, You don't have to comment on it. You can say pass. But like you see Sam Smith and he's dressed in all sorts of costumes. Do you think that's been a good role model to kids? Is that okay to be dressed like that? What do you think? Is that art to you? Do you see it differently, or is that something that you'll be like, what is he doing?
I believe that everybody has the right to express their individuality, and if you want to do it through clothes, if you want to do it through music, through whatever, then that's completely your choice. I always say that as long as you're doing something for yourself rather than to please other people, then by all means go ahead and do it, as long as you're not hurting anyone and you're not hurting yourself in the process. Who am I to tell you that you're wrong? you know it's your choice, it's your life.
Don't you think it confuses children watching that, where he's got such a big audience and people look up to him and like his music, and the next minute he comes out with something wild like that, and a 7 or 8 year old listening to it and going, well, I want to wear that, and isn't that a bit weird?
I wouldn't say it's weird. I would just say, again, like, the way that society has moved, especially in the last 5 years or so, the educational system needs to reflect the changes within society and educate children from a much younger age on social media, on um, sexuality, making them understand that certain people are this, certain people are that, and it's okay. It's okay to want to express yourself, but you just got to make sure that the way that you express yourself, like I said before, you're not hurting yourself or somebody else in the process. The educational system needs to reflect the changes within society and how society and culture has moved.
I'm going to ask you a little personal question now as well, if I haven't already. But your look has changed quite a bit.
It has.
You
It
know,
has.
I saw you on something a little bit previously, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I couldn't really recognize you too
I
much, and I'm
know.
just like, wow, like big hand to you, honestly, like congratulations, like you know. I love anybody who sort of look after their health, you know what I mean? Because your diet is very important, because it affects how much you can focus, how active you are, how motivated you are. Your gym sort of regime keeps you fit and healthy, and especially it comes to an age where every year you're getting older, you could be getting older, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than if you're doing certain exercises, you're actually holding and maintaining yourself, and it's very important, because when so many people are watching you, like it's the world we live in, everything is aesthetics. How important is image?
I think for me, it was a case of I thought to myself, I was at a point in my life where I didn't want to look that way anymore. I wanted to invest in my health. I wanted to get more physical. I wanted to get more active, and I wanted to shape myself. I wanted to shape myself in a way that I felt would be a reflection of the person that I want to be. So I literally invested in, you know, working out, understanding, what the right things were to eat, and making it my lifestyle. And that's why I keep saying to people, it's so important to invest in knowledge, because once you've built yourself and you've allowed yourself to become the person that you want to be, that's when you hit a point of confidence. That's when you hit a point of, you know what, I can start to conquer anything. And a lot of the time, even me myself, I had this attitude as well. I used to think to myself, you know what, once I've done this, then I'll go and try that. Once I've done that, then I will go and do that. But life doesn't work like that. If you've got something in your mind that you want to do it now. Don't wait. Start now. Start right this moment in time. Don't say to yourself, you know what, yeah, I'm going to get fit and healthy tomorrow. No, if that's come to your mind now, start now. And that's what I had to do. I had to think to myself, I want to change. I want to, I want to get fitter. I want to get healthier. What do I have to do? I thought of it in my mind and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start now. And that's it. I changed the way that I did life and I focused on getting myself to a point where I was more mentally and physically fit.
How do you feel now compared to no, I wouldn't say old you because it's always been you. What are the benefits now that, you've trimmed up a little bit and,
I've got to a point where I feel like I've found myself and my confidence. And that's got nothing to do, don't get me wrong, that's got nothing to do with, you know, losing weight or being like looking a certain way. Absolutely not, because I believe that, you know, every single one of us are individuals and there is nothing wrong in looking a certain way, The only thing that we always have to make sure is that we tap into our confidence and we allow ourselves to become a person that is full of confidence. And that shouldn't be reflected in the way that you look or the things that you wear. It should be something that comes from within. And that's why for me, yeah, getting fitter and healthy was great, but I got to a point where I got more confident and comfortable with myself because I changed my mindset, not because I changed my dress size. That happened as a result of it, but it was more my mental state that allowed me to get to a point that I was confident to kind of in a way conquer the world. Because even when I was a bigger dress size, I was still on the stage, still doing me, still singing my songs, still doing what I love, because I was never going to allow myself to be defined by the number or the size of my clothes. No, I was going to allow myself to be defined by the confidence and the mental state that I allowed myself to get to.
I love that. So you can be, as long as you're comfortable and confident within yourself,
100%.
it doesn't matter how you look on the outside, but it's do it for you.
Yes, everything. I am such a believer that everything in life, you have to do it for yourself. If you are doing it for other people, you need to stop. You need to 100% stop, because going down a road like that will never make you happy. You need to always do everything for yourself. There's been times where people are like, what do you think of aesthetics and what do you think of this person getting that done and da da da. I'm always like, as long as it's something that makes the person happy and they're not harming themselves, then who am I to say that's right or wrong? Everything that you should always do in your life should be for yourself, to either strengthen yourself, make yourself happier. But again, when it comes to making yourself happier, it's so important to not look at materialistic things or physical beauty as a way of making yourself feel confident and happy with who you are. That strength has to always come from within, and everything else is secondary.
Nice. What's the thought process that goes through writing a song?
Do you know what? It's not just like one thought process. I would say that there's many kinds of thought processes, because there's times where you can go to the studio with an idea, you can go with lyrics, or you can go with nothing. So I have a songwriting partner that I work with on all my music, and I think the key to a successful session is to sometimes go in with an idea, but not too much of an expectation, especially when you're working with another creative, because sometimes if you go there too boxed in with an idea, sometimes that really can harm the creative process. That's why sometimes you've got to allow things to flow naturally, because then you end up getting to a point that you didn't think you would get to. And I've experienced that, especially with one song. My song Black and White came out like some sort of like half groove, half like, I don't know, like vibey reggaeton type song. And I was like, I was like, what is this?
Can you sing a bit of it?
It's the, 'cause our love ain't black and white. You know our love ain't black and white. It's that one. And like the half, like
Love
the,
it.
like the chorus and the verse are like two different melodies practically. And like when we were creating it, I was like, what the hell is this? Genius. I was like, what is this? And that was all because we went in there with nothing. We were just like, God, we've got a session today. What are we going to do? What is the idea? And then all of a sudden this just came out. It was probably like the quickest song we've ever done. I was like, yes.
Boom, hit it. Wow. You know what? Sitting here for just over an hour with you, and then you come up with that sing, I'm like, whoa. Whoa. That's what it's all about, yo. So, like, how much of it is songwriting a personal thing? Do you think when you experience like love or breakups or, you know, people betraying you or experiences like traveling and happiness, how much does all of these experiences like get involved in when you're being passionate about writing, or can you do it just from a place of thought or imagination?
I think so with my music, a lot of the time like we'll draw on either like my own life experiences, other people's, what I've seen, what I've heard. It's so important within the I believe anyway, that it's very important that within the creative process for me, that you can't just I can't box myself in just writing about like my own life. I think it's so nice to draw inspiration from, you know, the things around me, the people around me, situations around me, because my music, my songs are all about strength. You know, it's all about having that underlying theme of strength, that come, you know, the strength from within. And that's why it allows me to explore like other ideas and other things.
What do you think of some artists? Like, first one comes to mind, like Eminem. You know, he's like
Love Eminem.
Christina Aguilera, a bit of switch. Like they're pulling people from other artists, like to create some sort of controversy. Like, what do you think of? Like, would you ever call anybody out in your song?
I mean, you know, I haven't crossed paths with anyone yet, so who knows what the future holds. No. I can appreciate good art, good music, and Eminem, Christina Aguilera. These are people I grew up with.
Powerful.
You know, come on, like
Powerful.
Eminem. Oh my God, did you see when Ed Sheeran pulled out Eminem on the stage? He was doing a concert and then Eminem came out and it like went viral and I was like, oh my God. I was like, this reminds me of my childhood.
Trust me, man. I remember that was one of my first albums. One of my first albums or singles I bought. Do you remember this group called Hanson?
I heard of them.
Yeah.
I remember. Oh God, yeah, I remember.
Cool, mate. Yeah, 90s, mate.
Good times, good stuff.
Yeah. So, have you got anything exciting coming up? Is there any collaborations? Is there anything you're working on? Is there anyone who you're looking to work with? Can you give us, like, you know?
So I have 2 collaborations coming out with DJs, which I'm very, very excited about.
Amazing.
We've been working on, especially one of them, we've been working on it for quite a while. And we've just signed the deal and it is in the process of getting ready for release. So I'm very, very excited.
Wow. Can you tell us which DJ, or is that a secret?
It's still a little bit of a secret.
Okay.
Because I need, you know, once we've got all the, you know, the promotional material and the dates and stuff like that, then I can shout it from the rooftops. For the time being, I have to keep tight-lipped.
How's a collaboration like a different twist to what you existingly do, or working with a DJ? Like, what does that even mean? Someone just doing some sounds behind you, or what?
I mean, it's different processes. So one of them is going to be like, you know, if it's a remix, then it's a different process. If it's lyrics to a song, again, it's a whole other process in itself. And writing music to like a DJ track is a different methodology than writing like your classic, you know, verse, chorus, bridge type song. And also, again, if you're working physically with the DJ, like if you're in the same recording studio, if he's like in another country or in another place, and you're having to piece things together from two different parts, the method can be different. There's no one method.
Wow. Is it different for you, like not a normal day in the office when you do these sort of things?
100%. I mean, I'm that kind of person that I always love to do something different each day. And working with different people, you always have that, because everybody's temperament is different, everybody's way of working is different, you know, and you have to adapt to that. You have to adapt to that as an artist, as a team, because everybody's opinions and everybody's methods are just as important as each other, because it's a team effort at the end of the day.
How do you switch off?
I think that's my biggest problem, because I really find it hard to switch off. I'm one of those people. I could be sitting there watching like a film, and then something just will like run in my mind, and then I'll text one of like my team members, and I'm like, oh, this has just come in my mind. Like, should we do this tomorrow? Should we do that? And or like I can never sit. I find it really hard to switch off. Basically, very hard.
Well, look, all I can say, you've been really amazing today.
Thank you.
Is there any question that you wish that I'd asked you?
I don't think so. I think we've covered kind of everything. To be fair, I could sit here and talk all day. Sean.
Amazing. And do you have any questions for us?
So what question do I have for you guys? Who's your next guest after me?
So I could tell you actually my next two guests.
Okay, let's go for it.
So there's one guest, Lurata. She survived human trafficking.
Oh, wow.
One of very few women, and she's wrote a book. And like her second picture is with like Tom Hardy, and so she's quite an influential woman. Referred by one of my existing people who came on the podcast. Cool. So that's the thing here on Sean Land. The guest normally refers somebody, at least one more person in the network.
Building the network.
And then I've also got a famous boxer from the 90s who had a horrific accident in the ring, unfortunately. But he's still going, and he's still a very big inspiration. So here at the Sean Land, Take a Seat podcast, what we like to do is not just take one person from one background and just niche it just to that. I believe that, that can get boring and repetitive, and, if you like a certain personality and the way someone who presents themselves, and you say, hey, he's quite calm, cool, collective, I like being around this guy. Well, then let's take you into different rooms. Let's take you with superstars like yourself who are singers, actors, actresses, boxers, personalities, and let's just have different conversations. Because the thing that we all think when we're watching something is we should just fit in. If I'm doing finance, I should just look at finance. We're all made very differently, and we all understand things differently. So maybe your message is going to touch someone in my audience existingly and go, wow, I've never really thought about that. She really sort of has been exposed to a lot of incidents. She's been around a lot of, younger children as well, and she can see the effects they've gone through. Because I also think that we are always our younger self. We are always like, everything, single thought that we have goes to childhood.
Absolutely.
When was the first time I fell? Right, I'm not going to do that. When was the last time I fell off that wall? I'm definitely not going to climb that wall. Oh, my mum and dad were scared of spiders, and they put that belief into me. I'm scared of it. It's just, I trust these people. It's everything refers back from that. And not everything from childhood is right. And that's what we have to understand, that, certain things that shape us, sometimes we do need to,
go back, revisit it, and like undo it.
Exactly, or give us a second opinion and going, right, now we're starting right from a foundation again. Do you still think the same thing? It's like jumping out of an aeroplane. It's like, that's the most stupid, craziest thing you'll do. But some people do it and go, it's the most freest thing I've ever felt. It's just because I had a belief that obviously you're going to die and it's a survival instinct. But at the same time, when you actually do it, you might say, actually, what else am I afraid of in life that I'm not conquering? Because there's a lot of doors that I'm not opening. And if I just had the confidence to open a certain door, I might enter a totally different room that I didn't know was even there.
True, very true.
And it's just something so inspiring what you've done, and you've taken that leap and get on stages, no matter the way you look or how you feel comfortable. You didn't feel comfortable, and you've gone through so many things. You're inspiring children at schools. I'm looking at you, looking at inspiration, because we're trying to get somewhere in social media as well. And we just look at, how many times have you knocked on doors and you just keep going, and we're all actually going through the same things at different levels. It's just, sometimes it's just not your time yet. It doesn't mean It's not there.
As long as you keep working hard, you're going to get there at some point.
Amazing. If you just like to look into your camera and just let everybody know how they follow you.
So you can follow me on all social platforms. The name is Eleni C Music on everything.
Blue tick verified.
Yes.
Boom. There you go, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. We got plenty of more guests like Eleni C coming on, so make sure you stay tuned. As I said, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any episodes. Leave us a message. I promise you, I'll make sure Eleni will get that message and will reply to you, and share this with somebody who you think is going to help. So I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.